Hey, Steve, you're a special guest the other day.
Yeah.
Came through.
We took a guess. We took a guess in a poll. We took a poll after you left.
Who won?
I don't think either one of us did.
I said Ryan Garcia.
Yeah.
Smitty said Tyson. I said, no way, Tyson. I think somebody else said something about nobody won. Nobody had a clue about Usyk. Usyk was a guy that's way out there. How was that, and what do you think? We got.
That was great. Well, Usyk is kind of making the rounds out here in L.A., spending some time out. He's actually going to be filming a major movie with The Rock. And so I happen to know his manager, Igas Klimas, very well. And we have a mutual friend in Jose De La Cruz, a very close associate and friend of mine. And they said, hey, Steve, do you think there's any way that we can get Oleksandr on Mario's All Access show? And so I said, yeah, and then we can do the podcast. And so we could do both on one day because they basically film in the same area in Universal. So we made it happen. Mario was very receptive towards the idea. And Oleksandr Usyk's English has gotten much better from when I first saw him about 6-7 years ago. And he's a highly intelligent guy, very emotive, very expressive, he's got great charisma. I think he's going to do great in this movie. And it was big because he doesn't do a lot of interviews outside of fight week. He lives in another part of the world. So it was very special to have him. And he gave us all the time that we needed, and we enjoyed it.
Who was that guy?
That's Igas Klimas, one of the most influential managers in the sport of boxing. He manages Vasyl Lomachenko, Janibek. He had Sergey Kovalev throughout most of his career. And he's a true power broker. And he's managed Oleksandr Usyk since the beginning after he won his second gold medal. And he helped kind of translate some of the loose ends that may, again, English is not his first language. So it's really valuable to have him right next to him.
I love it.
Nice.
Man.
So
shout out to you
how
guys.
big is that guy? How big is he?
With Usyk, he's built like a really well-muscled linebacker because he's about 6'3.5", 6'4", which by today's standards is actually a little bit below average because a lot of heavyweights are now 6'6", 6'7". But he's thick. He's got some width to him. Doesn't have great length compared to like Fury and Deontay Wilder. But one thing about him, though, very tough guy. Like he was describing how he got hit with that uppercut and how he thought his jaw was broken. And he said, oh, God, this is going to get tough. And he said, but I got to get tough here. Gave a great explanation on that. But it is interesting. Usyk's size in the 80s and 90s, he would be considered a good, well-built, big heavyweight. Today's heavyweight, he's a little bit small, and he told us something that was very interesting. He actually might move back down to cruiserweight because eating that much the way he does to keep up his calories and his weight, he says he's getting sick of it. He says he might actually move back down to cruiserweight just to finish out his career.
So assuming obviously the Fury fight is when December, the rematch.
December 21st.
After that, he would plan to potentially go back down.
Look, if there's any more mountains to climb, maybe he takes on somebody else, Zhang, or there's a couple of mandatories he's going to have to fulfill. But, you talk to any bodybuilders. I've seen a few documentaries on this, and it's funny. It's not the lifting weights that they hate. It's the eating.
Yeah, it's tough.
And I'm sure for a guy like him who's had to make weight his whole life, he's never had to eat this much. But he said, look, he said something because I like bananas. But he basically said, I don't like 1,000 bananas. And he says, I'm done. So because I get the sense he probably walks around like the low 210s, and then he cuts the natural weight. But now you're asking somebody to be in the 220s or beyond. And look, here's the funny thing. When I've stood next to Tyson Fury and I'm looking up at him.
Yeah.
With Oleksandr Usyk, we're facing pretty much eye to eye. He's not that much taller than me, so he's really in the lane.
You're tall. Contrary, you're tall.
Yeah, but I am 6'2", though. But here's the thing, though. A lot of other heavyweights, like you're like, wow, these guys are like power forward sized.
Right.
He really is more like point guard size. So it's all relative in terms of the height and the length.